In the early spring 2008, I made a marriage proposal to Sabrina while I was wearing gumboots and a life jacket far out in the wilderness of Canada. And I thought my chances were pretty good, not only because I was dressed perfectly, but also knowing Sabrina had no chance of escaping from me out here. It happened that we paddled down 2,000 k's on the Yukon River, and both of us thought at that time this would be our last big adventure. The reason for it was that Sabrina was already 4 months pregnant, and everyone around us said, finally, you guys will settle down. What we experienced was amazing. It was the quietness, the pure and wild nature that really touched us. Sabrina, being pregnant, felt very comfortable in this environment. She completely trusted in herself, knowing her body was made for this, so why doubt it? There was no negative stress and no one that could interfere or change her way of thinking because we were completely cut off to the outside world by not having a communication device. You could call this being stupid, but coming from a generation, having grown up without all those tools, it didn't seem important to us then. Not being connected to the outside world made us be more connected to ourselves and really focus on what we were doing and how we were doing it. By the way, Sabrina said yes to my proposal, and soon after our first child, Amira, was born. We realized settling down was not for us. Living our passion was what we truly wanted, and with Amira, it became even more meaningful. When Amira was 18 months old, we had this dream of finding a long-lost cabin far out in the wilderness of Canada. But therefore, we would have to travel into the wilderness for many months at a time, facing a problem. How on earth can we, beside our child, carry food and supplies for such a long time? And the answer to that was by doing it with horses. Before we took off to Canada, we did not have any experience with horses, and there was people telling us this is impossible and irresponsible to take a little child on such an adventure. But when you want to do something that other people wouldn't do, or when you follow your passion, you also have the will to learn, and things become normal and natural for you because you are in your environment. Don't listen to people when they say it's not possible to do what you want to do, because they might be a fish trying to climb a tree, talking to you being a monkey. When we had to cross a river, and we had to do this often, we didn't just do it casually. Having Amira with us made us be even more careful, being aware of any kind of danger, knowing that every little mistake could be fatal. The horses had heavy loads to carry, but so did we, knowing that we have the full responsibility for our little child, and we could not pass that responsibility on to someone else. Soon, we also got used to not having a trail out here, but finding our own one. Not having a given trail also means that you can make your own decisions, taking the path in life that is the right one for you. Our senses really became alive because of the quietness we faced, also knowing to be the only human beings out here. And as longer we spent out in nature, as more we became one with it again, and we realized this has once been our natural habitat. Today, we look at the wilderness as being a dangerous place, and yes, it can be, but we are not afraid of driving down the highway, having our child on the back seat, doing 120 k's per hour. So, of course, we also face problems. After 1 month into the trip, we ended up in very dense forest, and moving forward became almost impossible. In a situation like this, of course, stress becomes a factor, and Sabrina and I didn't just sing or whistle peacefully anymore. We also started blaming each other, especially the one from us going up front, leading us this way. I don't tell you who that was. Often in life, we start to worry, like here, we could not get any further. This is the end of our trip, or a horse could break a leg. No, we shouldn't worry about things and situations that haven't happened yet. Often we create these problems just in our head. They're not reality. Sabrina and I, we also had to understand that this is part of it when you dare to step out of your comfort zone. But it's still the place we wanted to be because this was our dream, our passion. But it would be a lie to say I'm always positive. No, I'm not. But when I was not positive, Sabrina was, or the other way around. And that's why it's so important to be in a strong team with someone you love and someone that can motivate you again. Fighting through days like this was hard. And one day we did not do more than 2 Ks in 8 hours. But those 2 Ks were the most important towards our goal. When giving up is not an option, that's when you become the strongest version of yourself. Finding and reaching this long-lost cabin after 3 months was a very special moment for us, and it brought tears to our eyes. But this feeling could only be so intense because of all the obstacles we have overcome together. And this was only possible because of our passion, respect for each other and nature, as well as basic trust. One of the biggest lessons we learned was that having a child does not have to stop you from living your passion. Your child does not make things complicated. It is you thinking that you have to change everything in life, using your child as an excuse for not living your dreams anymore. Soon after, we also decided to spend the entire winter out here. We had no running water, no electricity, and civilization was 200 Ks away from us. It was basically like being on Alcatraz with no way to escape. Amira was 3 years old by now, and Sabrina was already 5 months pregnant with Naira, knowing there is no doctor within reach. Why did we not become afraid? Our previous adventure had shaped us so strongly, believing in ourselves and trusting each other. It was so quiet out here that we connected so deeply to ourselves and nature that suddenly we were no longer observer but became part of it. It felt like we gained more senses, and each of them was strongly expressed. When you have to live off the land, hunting your own food to survive, you connect even deeper. And Amira wanted to take part in everything we did, and that was so wonderful to see. Being able to show her a way of living that is almost not existing in our modern world anymore. When the rabbit filled our stomach, Sabrina used its hide to make mucklucks for Amira. We also caught a lot of fish, but when the variety of food becomes very limited, we became very creative by finding different ways to prepare it. So we built our own smokehouse. Did we know how to smoke fish? No, we didn't. But when you are suddenly not able to Google or ask someone, you become very creative by simply trying out yourself, finding your own way of doing things because you have to. Being successful hunters, we also needed a toilet, which we built out of material nature offered us. And as you can see, even at minus 45 degrees, we didn't need a toilet door because you all know wood is such a homely building material that actually radiates a lot of heat. Our days ended peacefully by candlelight and oil lamps in a cozy, warm cabin because of the firewood we chopped every day. And it showed us how important it is to do something in life that really suits you and your identity to make you happy. By now, everyone had given up trying to convince us to settle down. And when our second daughter, Naira, was born, we traveled through the outback of Australia with camels we trained ourselves. But there is a little story to this and how it all happened that we ended up with camels. In 2015, we actually had planned of riding through Patagonia with horses. We were smart this time, and we already had horses organized, waiting for us in Patagonia. In Canada, we first had to find them. So well prepared and experienced, we thought, well, this time it'll be an easy game for us. But what we forgot was that life has always a spare joker in its pocket. 2 months previous to our departure, we went for a test ride at home in Switzerland, and our dream was destroyed. Naira turned out to be allergic to horses. I tell you, I first had my problems. Of course not with Naira, that was heartbreaking. But it was hard to accept not having this dream ahead of me anymore. But Amira said, well, listen, Mum and Dad, that's not a problem because the 3 of us can still ride and Naira can just walk behind us. Of course, this was not an option, but it really made me think, becoming creative, trying to find another solution. And then, just like Mother Nature had a joker, we had one too. Instead of horses, we changed to camels and went to Australia. Australia has the biggest camel population in the world because they introduced them early 19th century. Our plan was to get 4 camels to build a string so we can all ride and pack them with all the gear and supplies we need. But the real problem was these camels are all wild, so to buy 4 wild camels was not a problem, but to train them to become tame, that was something else. Respect towards the animal was very important. It wasn't just up to us how quickly progress was made and when. After a few months, things started looking pretty good, so we decided, well, now it's the time to put saddles on them to see how things work out. And they didn't work out. Out of the 4 camels, we only ended up having 2 good ones, which was not enough. And on that day, we were once more sort of destroyed. It was really hard to accept, but giving up has never been an option for us. Too often in life, we walk up to a wall and then we stop and turn back instead of thinking how we can climb over it. Being faced with problems is always a chance of making yourself better. Seeing reality brought us to the idea of building a wagon because therefore we only need 2 camels. And this photo shows me after about 5 months of intense training with them, very happy and strongly believing that we have now achieved our goal, that by tomorrow we can take off into the outback of Australia. But this is what it looked like 2 minutes later. Ending up in a ditch. Of course, it was not easy to get back up and continue, especially thinking 2 minutes before that we have achieved our goal. When giving up our goal, being faced with problems is always a chance of finding new solutions, but sorry about that. Sorry. So anyway, thank you. So we continued, and 2 weeks later, our dream became a reality, And we traveled into the outback of Australia, traveling 1,600 k's in 3 months, living a family adventure we will never ever forget. Not long ago, I walked across Greenland, 600 k's on skis, and being out here really makes you feel tiny. It's like being on another planet with no other life around you. Walking 10 hours every day also means you have a lot of time diving deeply into yourself, thinking about you and your life. And suddenly I had this flashback. I was about 10 years old, sitting in my classroom, looking out the window, daydreaming about myself, living some big adventure. My teacher called me to ask for the answer to a question, which of course I did not know because I was completely somewhere else. This happened a lot over the years, and in the school report would always be a note to my parents saying, Markus is dreaming a lot. He's not focused on his studies. Today, I smile when I see my own children similarly lost in their own daydreams, and it makes me think, what if we took our dreams seriously? What if we listened to them and allow them to guide us towards the lives we truly want to live? I urge you to embrace your dreams because they have a message for you. They hold the key to living the life you truly desire, filled with passion, focus, creativity, basic trust and respect. And most importantly, they remind us that life is meant to be lived to the fullest. So I encourage you to take a step back from the hustle and bustle of daily life and ask yourself, what is my dream life? What fills me with a sense of purpose and joy? Then use that passion to guide your actions, to fuel your creativity, and to cultivate a deep sense of trust in yourself. I hope that you too will embrace your dreams and live the life you were meant to lead. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks.